You are watching Pucknology After Dark. Oh my.
Oh my, oh my, can we get a freaking shot on goal? Or better yet, can we get a goal? You know what? Better yet, let's just throw out some fourth line goons because after all, we've been saying we need some more skill in the fourth line, but we're misguided. We're totally misguided and we don't know anything. Welcome to this edition of Pucknology After Dark following a 1-0 Sharks loss to the Anaheim Ducks. I am Eric, also known as PuckGuy14 on Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, you can be a part of the show by using Twitter. Use the hashtag PucknologyAfterDark to ask questions or comment. You can follow us on Twitter at all the Twitter handles below. Main ones, of course, at Pucknology, at PuckGuy14. Tonight it'll be at ChrisJWS, and for a brief moment, AJ_Strong. And speaking of which, let's get to the guys right now. We'll start off with Chris. Good evening to you, sir.
How's it going?
Good. And coming in from his Uber, I believe we have AJ Strong.
It's not Uber. I actually drove this time, but yeah, what's going on, man?
Just be safe. That's all I ask.
Oh yeah.
All right, AJ. Since you're here for a moment, I will ask for your comments on tonight's game.
Well, it wasn't great. The first period I thought it looked pretty evenly matched. Obviously, the scoreboard kind of told that, and it just seemed as the game progressed, the Sharks just became less and less interested. For me, this wasn't a case of Chicago or Pittsburgh where it was the case of the Sharks just came up against a better team. The Sharks tonight, I mean, just looking at that third period, 2 shots on goal. Give me a break. You looked at Anaheim's power play and the crisp passes, tape to tape, and the whole time I'm thinking, how come the Sharks can't do that? And look at tonight. How huge would a power play goal have been in this game? We can, certain writers, certain people on the radio, whoever, can sit there and say, oh, special teams are a very small part of it. It's all about 5-on-5. Well, I can give you a laundry list of games where a single power play goal would have made all the difference. And tonight was one of those nights, and they just couldn't get it done.
No, not at all. Yeah, you're right. A power play goal would have been huge in this game. And dead on with Anaheim's power play. It's pretty bad when you can see right in front of your face how a power play can be effective, and the Sharks decided not to. Chris, good evening to you. What did you think about tonight's game?
I agree with AJ, but I'm going to go a slightly different direction here. He alluded to some writers talking about face smashers and all that fun stuff. And to me, it looked like in the third period, they were worn out. They were getting worn out by Anaheim style play. I mean, that is Anaheim's game. Why? Okay, and I hear this every time we play Anaheim. We need to have mashers in the lineup to match their physicality. Well, what about? Why are you trying to play their game? Why is it when we play the Ducks, we keep on trying to play their game? So far, we've lost 2 games 1-0, and we won one essentially 1-0 because I believe there was an empty netter in that 2-0 win. Why are we trying to play their game? This is stupid. And also, those lovely face smashers you have in there to match their physicality, they had 3 minutes and 6 minutes respectively, just under 10 minutes combined. Next lowest forward was Zubris with 10 minutes. I've said this before. They don't even trust them enough to put them on the ice for as combined time as much as the next forward up.
Yeah.
They trust Zubris more with more ice time than those two combined, and that says it all. Why not just dress 16 skaters and call it a day? Like, why are we pretending we're rolling 4 lines when we aren't? This is not a 4-line team. This is especially not a 4-line team when you just decide to punt on that before the game even starts. Tierney could have been trusted with 10 minutes in this game. Gaudreau could have been trusted with 8 or 9 minutes. why are we wasting a spot on game day for guys who barely play? And again, why are we playing Anaheim's game? Yes, we should match their physicality, but that should be our players who can play hockey, and we should make them match our skill. Yeah.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I understand that in a sense that they want to have a masher out there, in case things get out of hand, you can throw them out there. However, you don't need to. One is just fine. Brown's fine. He could bring some speed. He can, cause some things to happen somehow. But I agree with you. Goodrow could be out there. Hell, you could throw Goldobin out there, for crying out loud. And guess what, guys? Which group was on the ice when Anaheim scored the only goal of the game? It was Zubris, it was Brown, and Pavelski was out there because they are beginning a line change.
And of course, Dylan.
Yep.
Well, there's a thing right there.
And Burns.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. What was Dylan doing out there with 16 seconds left in the regulation? And supposedly we're giving so much love to Vlasic on the power play and everything that you couldn't keep him out there. It's not like we're saving him up for overtime.
Well, let's be real though. Vlasic can't get shots through very consistently. Dylan, for all his faults, he can get shots through, or he can at least get him just wide of the net and maybe create a rebound off the board. So I don't really have a problem with that decision. I mean, I would maybe say Braun over him, but I'm not that overly worried about that decision.
I was just surprised that they had that out there as the best six. Sorry, AJ.
No, I was gonna say I just go back to what Chris was pointing out, which like I want to see an article on CSN California tomorrow that illustrates just why the choice of Haley, Zubris, and who's the third guy on the fourth line tonight? Haley, Zubris.
Haley, Zubris, and Brown.
I mean, yeah. I know you wouldn't even know who he is because, you see him out there like one shift a period.
Yeah, exactly. So Haley, Zubris, and Brown, I want to see an article that says how Haley, Zubris, and Brown are a better option than Tierney centering Goldobin and Goodrow. Like, okay, show me how that is. And then if you think about just some of the Sharks' history, there were a few games, whether it was Sutter, whether it was Wilson. I don't know that T-Mac ever really did it, but there was a few times where the Sharks actually now you might have to I hope both you guys are sitting down. Anybody who's watching this, I hope they're sitting down. At one point, I kid you not, the Sharks had enough defensive depth where they could dress 7 defensemen. And if you're going to put up Brown and Haley and Zubris, you might as well consider that. But the thing is, the defensive depth on here is such a joke after the top 4. That's not even close to being an option.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the rationale I heard also was, why not dress these guys because the immediate alternative isn't that much better, which there's some truth in that. I won't completely disagree with that, but at the same time, it is better. Honestly, I don't see how Tierney is not better than those two. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Tierney doesn't drop his gloves. That means he's not as good, right? I mean, he struggled mightily this season, and he's still better than those two.
Well, see, and this whole thing is, I feel like Kurz was kind of, hanging out Tierney to dry. Oh, he needs more time in the Barracuda, when he was such a surprise in such a positive way last year. And you think about, well, who was Tierney playing with? Well, he was on the third line playing with better players. How do you expect Tierney to show off what he can do when you're throwing him out there with Brown and Zubris?
Right.
Yeah. And actually, no, sorry. Go ahead, Eric. I just completely lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
No problem. Looking on the chat, first off, NHL ties, yes, you should give Brody the first star of the night. But Chris Edwards is chiming in. When you only roll 3 lines and everybody's got to babysit the minutes, it's no surprise this team was gassed after 45. And that is the bigger issue right there. when you guys are going to only play mashers for 3 minutes each, you're going to tire out your top 3 lines. And what that's going to do is it's going to slow them down. It's also going to give Anaheim the edge to where you're going to have tired players, and sure enough, as usual, as we've seen the last couple of years, and again, we got to get on this conditioning issue business too, because these guys were gassed, after 2 periods.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily conditioning as much as, like I said, it's causing the top forwards to have to play more minutes. It also means that those top forwards are having to play in more of the stressful situations. They're having to play in the defensive zone face-offs because you can't trust Brown and Haley to take those defensive zone face-offs very often. It's forcing the top liners to play on the penalty kill. It's just all around taxing the top liners at every pass because the fourth line is useless. Zubris is the only guy who's remotely useful in that group.
And they're using him on the penalty kill, too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's very taxing minutes, defensive minutes. And I don't think it's necessarily conditioning as much as you're overusing them in the first 2 periods because when you dress those guys, you have to. Mm-hmm. And that's what I keep saying. Like, why are... I'm sorry, I'm just being a dead horse here because it's the same thing every time they press those 2. We consistently see the same bullshit.
I can't agree with you more on that, and it's like seeing what they're doing with that fourth line. It's like it makes about as much sense as signing a 6'7", mouth breather, knuckle dragger who was brought in to protect the youth, which is really easy to do from the press box for 50 games out of the year.
And again, also this whole angle about protecting people and all that, it's pretty much been shown statistically. Mashers in the lineup do not deter anything. Like it's been borne out over. Like injuries happen more frequently with mashers in the lineup. Penalties happen, obviously, but we're talking penalties not by the mashers. So it doesn't deter anything. It's just this idea that it might deter. It's romanticized. It's a confirmation bias. When you see Couture get hit and then you see Brown go out and fight after that or something like that, you are like, see, he's protecting him. But you ignore every other time that a cheap shot's taken and that doesn't happen, and it doesn't stop it. If it was going to stop it, it wouldn't have happened in the first place.
It's not the same NHL that it used to be. It's not the days where you need a Scott Parker anymore. Or, you want some guys that are gritty, like your Mike Ricci's and Scott Thorntons, but those guys brought talent to the game, and they were able, when you needed a cycle, when you needed to be able to possess that puck in their zone for a good 45 to 50 seconds, that was a line that you could count on to get it done the vast majority of the time. And if you want to get like a grind type line out there, by all means, but they can't be the knuckle dragger face mashers. You need guys that actually have some talent. For all the reasons and all the times that we shit on Mike Brown. Mike Brown, to me, actually, the first part of this game, he had his legs going.
Yep.
He had speed. He was trying to disrupt things, and I'll give him points for that. But really, Haley over Tierney, I mean, it's just looking at that, you got to have some more talent down there. Now, will it be more interesting to see when you could have a line of, say, Smith, Brown, and Torres as the fourth line? Because then you've got some guys that can, quote-unquote, mash in the corners, but that also have a slight bit of offensive talent that aren't out there just to waste time and try to tire people out, and they're really doing nothing.
That's what I was saying. Like, we need Ryan Close and Rafi Torres. Like, I have no problem with physical guys, who go out there and mash, but they also need to be able to play hockey, because if all you can do is hit guys and you're not really very capable at all with the puck, then you're not particularly helpful. I mean, or at least be good at driving play away from your own goal. But we know those guys aren't. They have one thing they do, and I guess they do it well. that's about. I mean, that's about it. It's just very frustrating because this is what's going to wear out our top line guys, not just for periods, but over the entire season. Because I was trying to look up ice time and I haven't had a chance to do it yet. But I'm willing to bet that we're taxing our forwards at a higher rate than most teams are, our top liners. And I mean, I'll look this up soon, but I'm going to guess that's the truth. And that's not good if that's the case. I'm Troy Clarity.
No, yeah, exactly. Because what's going to happen is these guys are going to deteriorate, and when it gets to crunch time in February and March, where you don't have much of a lead among your teams that are trailing and trying to get after you, you're going to have tired players, and they're going to have those comebacks. We saw it last year in February, where they had a good amount of lead in the playoff chase, and it fell through. You can't afford to do that. And realistically, you can't afford to do that right now. I'm going to put up the standings as we speak. Remember when LA and Anaheim were like a combined 0-3 and had 3 goals? Well, while the Sharks sit at 28 points, and for now, they are at number 2 in the Pacific Division. Lo and behold, while Arizona lost tonight, they're a point behind. Vancouver is at 26. Anaheim is at 25. And I'm not going to get really crazy, but Edmonton is only 6 points behind us. Calgary is only 8 points behind us. This is a lot tighter than everybody says it is, and you can't have mistakes like this and go through conditioning issues and just are running out of gas at the end of the night every night. Yeah, they have a game tomorrow, but they need to show up for both games.
So, and that's even more. That's even real quick. Sorry, AJ, real quick. But the fact that they're on a back-to-back, even more reason why you need to be able to spread ice time over 4 lines.
Yep, totally agree with that. And not only that, but I think it's also worthwhile to note that you're talking that Edmonton is only 6 points back. It's also a case of the Sharks. They haven't seen Edmonton this season. They haven't seen Vancouver this season. And they've only seen Calgary once. So,
right.
Those are going to be huge games. And with that, boys, I'm out. Have a good night. I will talk to you tomorrow.
All right, AJ. Have a great night. Later. Have fun. Be safe. But basically, it's getting to be very concerning. I mean, how can you sit back and be relaxed when third place is only 1 point out? Vancouver is just 2 points out, even though Vancouver's falling apart. I think they've won only 3 in their last 15. But Anaheim's right back where they are. They're coming on strong. You got to watch out. I mean, Edmonton, without McDavid, we thought they would be in the stinker, tanking and everything for Austin Matthews. Everybody was talking about. Well, they really can't talk about that too much when you're 6 points out and it's early December.
Looking at this, though, this is such a mediocre division this year. It really is. One other thing also, Gaudreau had 4 points tonight for the Barracuda. And he's doing nothing to earn his spot on the roster, on the big team roster, according to Kevin Kurz. But Haley and Brown, who do jack shit, they are somehow magically earning their spot.
Right.
And yeah, it didn't even occur to me until just a few minutes ago when you mentioned it that we're on a back-to-back. You want to see how how the legs of Thornton and Marleau Ital look second, third period tomorrow night. I'm gonna guess if they're dressing those 2 face smashers again. I mean, even they just doing it the first night. Imagine if they had gone to overtime. Even this, just to me, this is disastrous to keep doing this because I really wondered at times why February always seems to be the tough month for the Sharks. Aside from all the road games, part of me wonders if, we've always been a 3.5 line team, and we can't seem to get out of the dark ages of hockey and understand that you can't put out Jody Shelley's and Mike Brown's anymore.
No.
And expect that's fine. Since with the instigator rule now, the thugs are damn near irrelevant. They aren't useful.
No.
And you can get hockey players who can play hockey and mash. You can tell the guys from the Barracuda, say, you want to make an impact on this club? Play on the fourth line, bang bodies, and drive play. You don't have to score tons of goals, but keep the puck out of your end of the ice, and you can punish people. You can ask that. That's a reasonable ask of them, and they could do it much more effectively than either of those two could.
In the prime example of a solid fourth line, we saw it a couple years ago. It was Mike Brown, Rafi Torres, and Andrew Desjardins. I mean, you've heard me talk about this ad nauseum for years. During that playoff run, those first 3 games, they contributed, especially the 2 in San Jose. They had goals. They were hitting bodies. They weren't taking dumb penalties, but they were hitting bodies and making them feel pain. They aren't letting them feel pain. So I understand why you need to throw some bodies out, but if that's your only skill is to fight and not bring anything, I'm sorry, you're not going to help the team overall. And again, getting back to the time on ice, I mean, let's see. We always talk about 6 minutes for Brown, 3 minutes for Haley. Okay, I believe somebody mentioned it on the chat. I think it was Drew Weber. He says that the guys had top 6 players had about 7 shifts in the third period. Haley had 0. I mean, that's prime example right there. Thornton tonight had 18:40. Pavelski had 21:25. Let's see. Marlowe
and
had
some of that included playing on the penalty kill for I don't think Thornton did, but I know Pavelski had shorthanded time.
Yeah, Marlowe had 22:16. I mean that's more than Brendan Dillon and Paul Martin. Right? You're taxing your top 6. That's not gonna help. I mean Donskoy 17:23. It's gonna be concerning now. I mean you can't keep this up.
Yeah, like Marlowe, Pavelski, and Ward all played close to 2+ minutes each on the penalty kill, and those are very. I mean, you figure those minutes, those are worth almost double what they are because that's a hard-working shift. Like, and I guess Zubris, to his credit, is one of the reasons why he's up there with 10 minutes of ice time is because he was able to be out there. He had 3 minutes shorthanded tonight, and I'm not trying to badmouth him because I don't think he was the problem as far as the fourth line goes. Like it seems like he can at least give us some quality minutes. How bad is it that a guy who's damn near aged out of the league, who was on the scrap heap, is more reliable and useful than those two?
Absolutely.
That says it all right there.
Seriously, it says a boatload. It also says a boatload about who you have with the Barracuda right now. Because if they have to go and pick up a guy, now granted, he's got help because he already knows the Bauer system, and that helps for coming right off the free agent market. So that's a good thing. However, you have to wonder why these guys aren't getting their time as a fourth liner. And I will prevent I'll prevent myself from going on the Sommer rant again. But if these guys can't make it as fourth liners tonight,
I think they can though, and that's the thing. Like we know for a fact, Tierney, struggling as he is this year, has not been as bad as those two, and he clear. I mean, the truth is in the ice time. You can see by the ice time that the coach does not trust those two. I have no idea why he plays them when he doesn't trust them. But when he plays Tierney gets 8, 9, 10 minutes. Even Goldobin, who's been in the doghouse, usually has more minutes than those two combined. Like the truth is right there. I have no idea why the coach keeps on dressing them when he knows he's not going to be able to trust them. And especially, I was harping on this back when we played Columbus on the second night of that back-to-back. I was like, why are they dressing those two? And again, that was one of the things that probably if that hadn't been a win, I would have gone on much more about. But that it's just very frustrating. It's like every single time those two have been dressed together, they combine for less minutes than the next person. And that is just not acceptable. Like, we need to get out of this Bronze Age hockey thing. Goons are not relevant in the modern NHL. Yes, they still get signed by teams, but the best teams don't usually have one-dimensional goons.
Right.
The Kings have some knuckleheads, but most of those knuckleheads, if you look at the rest of the stat sheet, they do more than just hit and fight and create and cause penalties.
Mhm.
They do other things. And yeah, I don't like the Kings. And the Ducks, again, they have knuckleheads, but their knuckleheads tend to be, well, they're not Mike Brown caliber knuckleheads. John Scott somehow is on the Coyotes and, well, leading NHL All-Star voting, which is another thing altogether. But how I feel whenever Brown occasionally does something, okay, can't even see it, but you say, hooray, I'm useful. That's how I feel whenever Brown does something positive. It's like, oh, yes, he did something positive, and everyone mentions on Twitter. It's like, yeah, and what about all of the other things that he did not do positive? Yeah, it's just true. Yeah. I mean, he Somner to you is Mike Brown to me, I guess. Just it, but I mean, I've met the guy too. I mean, like, we bowled with him, and he was a really nice guy, cool to hang out with. But I'm sorry, he's a terrible hockey player. That's just reality.
Yeah, I mean, he's got great speed. I mean, we were when we were bowling with him, we were talking about how he likes to use his speed in his game. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the hands to go with it. It's just a harsh reality. But yeah, I mean, but you're telling me that these guys are going to be better for your team rather than having some guy that can thump and skill. I don't know. I don't think we're the one that's misguided, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, no, we aren't really. And okay, one of the things also, I'm sure what we're referring to mostly here is there's a Kurz article. For those of you who didn't see it, he was talking about those of us who are freaking out over Mike Brown. I wasn't freaking over those two being dressed. I wasn't freaking out. I guess you could call this a little bit now, but it's more just me venting frustration. Like I said before the game, this is not a good idea. Why are we playing the Ducks game? Like, that's their game, to drag us down in the mud and, beat it, because they're better at it. That's but he's, he was making the case trying to say, well, here's all the reasons why. And, depth is an issue, and there aren't a lot of other options, and they are questionable other options. But I've seen enough of Kurz to know we could have great options. Like Tierney last year, when he was playing extremely well, got the press box a few times in favor of Mike Brown or John Scott, and those times, guess who was defending that decision as well? So like he'll defend the usage of these Stone Age relics, like wake up and smell modern hockey, guys.
Yeah, like a Dave Schultz or like a Tiger Williams, who was known for their fisticuffs. Yeah, they had a scoring touch here and there, but you need to have somebody that has skill along with fighting. Kind of like that Ryan Clough or that Mike Ricci or that Owen Nolan of sorts. So let's move away from the fourth line, because that's kind of taking most of our time here. Let's definitely give some kudos to Martin Jones. 25 of 26 on his saves tonight against his shots. I didn't think he played that bad of a game, and maybe there's a little bit of an Anaheim bias in the 3 stars, but I thought he was deserving of a star tonight.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, he did everything. He played well enough to win and then some. Like, he didn't. I didn't see who the 3 stars were, but I guess Anaheim's one of those biased ones that would probably give like 2 of 3 stars to Anaheim Ducks had we won 1-0, because
it was Gibson, and then I believe Santorelli, and I think Fowler for his 2 shots on goal and his 13 minutes of ice time. So, but yeah, I mean, he had some remarkable saves. He kept the Sharks in the game, but unfortunately, it's a team game. You can't bank on one guy to win it for you. And this is one of those games where the Sharks have to uh, do whatever it takes to win. You can't bank on that one person. It is a team effort. I mean, I don't know what else you can do. Power play was 0 for 4 tonight. It was just one thing after another, and they just wouldn't let it go. What do you have up on the
So
screen there?
here's a pretty good illustration actually of how the night went. Really, like you'll notice here, the Sharks. This is a Corsi for those who aren't familiar. So basically, it's shot attempts. Every time you attempt to direct a shot at the net, and you'll notice the Sharks were leading pretty much almost the entire night. Like they were playing a pretty good game for 2 periods. Like I was pretty happy in spite of the fact that the Masters were being kind of useless. But you notice right after that goal, they just kind of flatlined. I think that really took the. I mean, like I think they were probably already tiring, as you can see. It was kind of flatting a bit out before that. But right at that point, that seems to be where it just kind of that ended their night because I don't know, a combination of exhaustion and fatigue, and then just the Ducks grinding. And plus, the Ducks also went into pretty heavy defensive mode at that point too. Like the Ducks, this is their game. we need to stop. We need to stop.
Get a goal and then shut down everybody else.
We need to stop trying to beat the Ducks at their own game. Make them play our game. Our game is faster. Our game is more skilled. I mean, the Sharks team does seem to have a bit of an identity crisis because they do seem to be somewhere between, are we a grinding team? Are we a fast? They don't seem to really have that identity. And way too often they try and play their opponent's game. And that to me is just that's kind of the most frustrating thing. I think that's really what this decision comes down to is like, oh, Anaheim physical. Therefore, we need to try and no, play your game, play your best players, make them adjust to you. And this is something I mean, I've said this before a few times. Just why are we chasing? You want to be the best. You play your game and make them adjust. I'm not saying don't ever adjust to what the other team does, but start with your game and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to keep on your game and whatever. One thing that NHL Ties has mentioned on here, he did a retweet. Kind of ironic that, and yes, it is also a Sharks color, as NHL Ties was criticizing Peter DeBoer's tie. Peter, don't wear orange and black when you're playing the Ducks. Just don't. You're asking for trouble.
But orange is the Sharks color. This is where like angry AJ Tree needs to chime in about the orange.
And with your thoughts, angry AJ Tree. I hate orange. There's nothing better than teal and black and silver. It should be back to those colors. I don't care if Gentry likes orange too. I don't care. Brought to your thank you, angry AJ Tree, for your thoughts on that. It just come on, have some idea. I mean, I would have sensed Brody and many of the other broadcasters. I'm sure. Yeah, they're not biased, but you're a head coach of the team. Kind of has something in your hindsight that you do that. I'm not saying you go out and buy every teal tie at Macy's, but I'm just saying don't wear the other team's colors. So, all right, we're getting off track, and we don't have much time left here. So tomorrow night, they're right back at 7 p.m. against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Lightning have been in town for a couple of days. I would almost have to say they have the advantage going into tomorrow night.
Yeah, plus also the Sharks have to travel back here as well. I mean, it's a short flight, luckily, but yeah, it's going to be interesting because they'll have fresh legs, and hopefully they'll have enough sense to show Brown and Haley the press box, let Tierney and Gaudreau play. Yeah, like I said, Gaudreau only had 4 points tonight. I just don't see
Meanwhile, and thanks to Felix SJ Sharkbite on Twitter, I believe he said for Haley, 8 games played, 0 points, -2, 20 pims while he's been a Shark. So, I mean, and another thing in the chat, a goalie can do only so much. Gibson had help. Jones barely had any. I agree. But you got the big guys coming to town. Stamkos comes in with his triplets line and Ben Bishop. Looking at the standings for Tampa in a tight Atlantic division, they're sitting out and they're about 4 points out of a playoff spot. They need to get points, and so they're going to be stressing for all of that. At the same time, though, the stress is also going to be on Steven Stamkos, who's in his final year of his contract, which we've talked about before with the dream deal if Stamkos were ever to come to San Jose. But, you got to get your mental mistakes out of the way, over and done with. You need to play a sound game in order to be victorious. And something in particular at home, don't be fancy. Don't be fancy. Just throw pucks on net. Good things can happen. None of this turnaround crap.
Speaking of fancy, how angry were you at those drop passes on the the power play? That one by Pavelski was just so egregious. Like, he had a great look. He could have just shot it right there on the rush. Instead, he drop passes straight to a Ducks player. I was just like, why on this? They like to play that kind of, that slower moving power play, which can work against some penalty kills. Against the more passive kills, it can be effective when they get set up, but they don't ever seem to adjust their game for the faster ones. I mean, like AJ said, like, there's these power plays that are super crisp. I don't understand why we like to play such a slow tempo on the power play, and the drop passes is just that epitomizes that. And I was like ready to throw something at the TV. I was just getting so mad. I was just like, you had a great look, Pavelski. That was a fantastic look he had to take a good shot and maybe get a rebound or something. Like, you see another guy rushing the paint there. Like, nope, no shot. Drop pass to nobody and have the Ducks clear it, no problem.
Yeah.
It's just, the harp on special teams a little bit more.
Yeah, no, and the drop passing or getting into the zone, doing a little turnaround, waiting for some other people. Well, the other people tend up to be like 3 or 4 defenders who break it up and break down the other side of the ice. I don't understand how many years we've seen that, and they're going through the same thing. It's time to change it up. Here's an idea. What was working early on the power play was having a guy in front of the net. I don't know.
Yep.
We've preached this over and over and over again, but again, we're misguided. So
on that first power play, I was listening on the radio for half the first period because I was driving. But from what Dan Rosnowski says, it's not like on their first power play of the night, the Sharks actually had one, like Ward and someone else right in front of the net, and it sounded like they got some good chances. But yeah, later in the night, it seemed it was more of that set up on the half boards, chill out, play a little pitch and catch. And against a team like the way the Ducks do their penalty kill, you gotta attack. They're not going to give you much time, and the time they'll give you is when you're just chilling there on the half boards. They're like, okay, that's not very dangerous. You gotta pick up your tempo against these aggressive teams. I mean, I would like to see them pick up the tempo, period. But especially against these aggressive teams, like when they go on the power play against Chicago or a few other teams that really have those aggressive penalty kills that half the time's like, wait, are we on the power play or are they on the power play?
And I would emphasize, again, like Bake said, a few games ago, shoot first, ask questions later. That's for everybody on the team. Not to mention Joe Thornton, who something's not right with him. I don't think he's registered more than 1 point in quite some time. Ever since he had that little skate incident, it's just I don't get it. Why are we looking for the pass first? Stop looking at the pass first. You don't need to be fancy. We don't care about fancy. We care about the scoring and winning.
Yeah, like they got to get dirty, and starts with getting down in the paint, get dirty, shoot, grind. Like if you're gonna grind against the Ducks, grind in the paint. Throwing mashers out there is not grinding. Getting in the paint, getting dirty, playing in front of the net, that's the kind of grinding you need to do to beat the Ducks.
Right, in going to the net. Yeah, agitate them a little bit, but you don't need to have crazy guys trying to run around with their heads cut off. George Peros isn't with the Ducks anymore,
Yep.
So looking back to Thornton, sorry, really quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thornton he's only had 1 point in his last 7 games. And that was an assist against Calgary. His last goal was November 17th against Boston. So a total in his last 9 games, a total of 1 goal, 3 assists. Not going to cut it.
Yep,
and that's going to kill. And it doesn't help his trade value if they were even to think about that.
I think in general his trade value isn't too high with his age and the fact that he has so much leverage in terms of the no move clause. So
the same thing with Patrick Marleau, but they think, oh gosh.
Well, if he is injured, it can't be. And I'll harp on it one more time. It can't be helping any injury that he might be nursing if he's having to play a ton of ice time and really help drag it. So one last thought on Tampa. I mean, I'm actually going to predict that I think they'll actually come out with some fire in their belly after this game. I think I said the same thing right before Calgary, that I think they'll try and atone for tonight's effort and all that. And I'm hoping that maybe DeBoer makes it a little easier on them by playing someone who can actually play on the fourth line. Anyway, so I'll let you take over here. I know you want to go to the tweets.
Yeah, we'll go to the tweets really quick. AJ, obviously watching on Pucknology After Dark, at PuckGuy14 says, shoot! Well, when you want to shoot, I'm sorry. I'm tired of the 5, 6, 7 passes to try to get a perfect shot. The shot gets blocked and it's cleared out of the zone. I'm tired of it. At Puck_over_glass, we already kind of touched this on your thoughts on putting Haley in the lineup, then benching him the third. It could be Lurg, it could be Haley, it could be Brown, it could be whoever. It's not going to help you during the game and during the season.
Yep, I mean we we didn't address that question specifically, but we went pretty extensively over Haley and Brown.
Yes. Generation X-Wing. Oh, beautiful GIF. I'm sorry, GIF, because heaven forbid I pronounce GIF incorrectly. It's like, bro. Yes, soothe yourself by talking to angry AJ Tree. Yes, of course. Always helps. Actually, Pucknology After Dark is pretty much a soothing exercise to getting out the frustrations from it. On the chat, Felix, what the hell are they practicing? Have no idea. Have no idea what they're practicing. Bradley Phillips, I have to think the power play will be a lot better when Timo Meyer becomes an option next year. He shoots the puck at every opportunity. Let's hope he doesn't get to go to the Barracuda, because apparently this is how it keeps going. You develop and you pass. But yeah, bottom line, like you said, just don't be fancy. Play simple foundation hockey. Work hard, play, and be ready from puck drop and go forward. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, you need to put pressure on the goaltender. I didn't think Gibson was pressured that much, and once again, a backup goalie, and in this case, an AHL goalie, although I think Sharks. So, any final thoughts, Chris, before we wrap this thing up?
Not going to reiterate anything I've already said, which I love to do anyways. But I think that they come out better tomorrow. I didn't think the effort was bad tonight. I really didn't. I'm mostly frustrated with some of these coaching decisions and just the way they're approaching this. So I hope that they have some fire in their belly, and then maybe they come out and try to play their style of game, and that's just what I hope. And I got this feeling I think that they're going to try and redeem themselves tomorrow night. So hopefully it will be good news tomorrow, and we're not having to worry about I think it would be winning 1 game out of 5 out of the last 5 or something like that. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I mean, we're not doing too well. Good thing this division is very mediocre.
It's very mediocre, but it's very tight, though, and that's the scary thing. It's going to get, when we get into February and the trade deadline, it'll be really interesting if it stays this tight down the road.
Yep.
But to play tomorrow at 30, I believe it's a mystery puck night, so make sure you have your money. It goes for a great cause to the Sharks Foundation. 7 p.m. face-off time. The game will be on CSN California, and some form of us. I'm not sure who, but we will be back here for another edition of Pucknology After Dark following the game to break down everything and to break down some more topics on your San Jose Sharks. So for AJ Strong, for Chris JWS, myself, Felix, Wendell, Rocket, Gentry, Ian, who we hope got a good job interview today, Randall Hahn, Daryl Martin. I think I got them all.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Right. So this is Eric. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you visit Pucknology.net for your best source of info for misguided Sharks coverage. Until then, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh.